Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to the podcast series, What You Didn't Know. I'm delighted to introduce today's guest. He is from one of Australia's most successful vocal groups. They've all been inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame and have recently wrapped an 11-year residency in Vegas. Welcome to the series, Phil Burton from Human Nature.
Thank you, Steph. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, thank you. So, Phil, you're in Sydney, which is exciting.
I am. It is very exciting. It's a little bit strange at the moment because I'm looking out the window at a city that I can't go into just yet. I am at day 10 of 14-day hotel quarantine with my family. We are hanging in there. It's a little rough, particularly on the kids, but the positive side is in 4 days' time we get back out and be part of the city that we love.
Absolutely. And not that you're counting down or anything,
No,
right?
not at all. Not at all.
So what made you decide to come back to Sydney?
Well, we always planned that at some point we would come back. Australia has always been our home. We love it here. And, as great as Vegas was as an experience, it never quite felt like home for myself and my wife and my kids. We always looked forward to the day that we would come back. The work was really great in Las Vegas, but I think there was always that pull. I think a lot of expat Aussies feel that if they're living out of Australia, they always feel that tug on the heartstrings to come home. So we really felt that, and we just started to think it was time. The coronavirus hitting really made the decision a lot easier for us because everything in Vegas basically just shut down completely, particularly the live entertainment scene. So we just figured that it was time to come back, and we've made the move.
Yeah, did it feel like with Corona, because that did kind of force your hand as well at that decision, does it feel sad to have finished that way, or do you look at it as the beginning of a new chapter?
I think that's kind of a subjective thing. You can look at it either way, but I like to think of it kind of in both ways, I guess. It's a shame that the run in Vegas had to end the way it did, that it wasn't necessarily on our terms. We thought that when the run in Vegas came to an end, that it would be us making the decision and saying, okay, we've had enough. The shows have been great, but now it's time to move on to something else. But as I said, coronavirus changed that for everybody, for a lot of people, not just us. So there was a shame in that we didn't get to sign off on it the way we wanted to. But at the same time, there is a positivity that you got to sort of look at that as not necessarily a door closing, but as another one opening. So we're ready for any opportunity that comes up, particularly here in Australia where things are going so much better than they are in the States right now.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, what did Vegas sort of look like when Corona was sort of starting out and just sort of became worse and worse, and we realized, okay, this isn't going away anytime soon?
Well, yeah, they closed the casinos very quickly in Las Vegas. I think it was right around the middle of March. Our last show was March 14th. We had a 2-day break after that, and we weren't actually sure whether we would come back on the 17th. But then on the 16th, the governor made the decision to shut down the casinos, and that lasted about 2.5 months. But as far as live entertainment goes, trying to get people into a theatre and crammed into the seats together, it's kind of impossible. You could get some people in there, maybe one every 4 seats. But then you get the financial problem in that no one can actually afford to put on a show where they're only selling 25% of the seats. So it's really going to take a long, long time, I think, for Vegas to come back, particularly the way America has handled the coronavirus. It has not been particularly great. Yes, I think they opened up far too soon, and basically everyone is just basically getting sick over there now. So everyone's afraid to get into a group of people. Here in Australia, it feels like people are more confident to be able to get together because of what the government has done. But in America, yeah, it's probably a good couple of years away before things get back to normal. So for us, that was basically what happened. We shut down, and within a few weeks, it was pretty obvious that things weren't going to come back. So it was time to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, look, 2020 has been a really tough year for most people, obviously made worse
Yes.
with COVID. And like you said, it's been probably a bit harder as you get towards the end of your quarantine to maybe just to stay in a good headspace. October is Mental Health Month. So I was wanting to talk to you about that.
Of course.
In particular, men's mental health. So you know, human nature have always had such a wonderful image, and you always look like you've really got it together, which is great, like such great role models.
Oh, thank you.
But I was wondering if you ever have those, you know, days and moments where maybe you don't feel so together.
Oh, very much. Yeah, a lot of artists feel that way, and a lot of performers, there is this underlying insecurity in what they do. One quote that I remember, I can't remember who said it, but basically it was someone very high up who said that they keep going to work and just hoping that today is not the day that they're revealed as a fraud. So, um, and I think a lot of performers think that way, that we go out on stage and hope that what we're doing is good enough, and secretly in the back of our mind worrying that it's not. But when the crowd applauds, that's, you know, that makes you feel good about it. But then the next day you do exactly the same thing. So I do feel that a lot. I think that's something that happens amongst, as I said, creative people, that they feel that what their gift that they're giving people is not enough.
Wow.
When
It
yes,
so is.
well, yes, I mean in a lot of cases it is. So that's probably a little bit of a worry that doesn't necessarily need to be there. But then again, that worry is probably what fuels you to be your best. It stops complacency coming in. So a little bit of anxiety in what you're doing is okay, I think, but
Mhm.
a lot where it starts to freeze you up and you don't want to do it at all, that's a big worry. And I know that, you know, my daughter in particular, she suffers quite seriously from anxiety, and she goes through that a lot where she doesn't even want to start a project for fear that she will get it wrong. So, and it's a pretty crippling thing. So we're trying to work our way through that to get her a bit more looking a bit more positively at the end result.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And there's still this generalization that men aren't as good as talking about their feelings or reaching out for help as women. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that's maybe changing as we start to talk about it a bit more, or do you still think that, yeah, men tend to bottle things up inside?
I do think it's changing for the better. I think men are reaching out to each other a bit more than they used to, and reaching out for help, and knowing that it's not a sign of weakness to reach out for that help. I think one of the main things that men worry about more than anything, particularly family men, and I'm guilty of this myself, is having that anxiety that you're not doing enough to support your family. That's a really tough one. And through this whole coronavirus thing, with me, my work has just dried up. My income is just disappeared. So I definitely have that worry right now. But I can open up to people and talk about that, which is I think is I feel very lucky that I'm able to do that. My wife's a very good listener. So talking to your friends has become way less of a taboo for men, I think. And it's definitely, as I said, it's not a sign of weakness anymore. And it's something that men really do need to do. Women seem to be a natural at it. They quite happily open up with their friends. And we as men look back and go, how can they talk to each other for so long? um, but it's something that men should learn from. Watch the women, watch what they do, talking to each other, and follow their example, and open up to people, and don't feel that it's weak to do that.
Yes. And I think too, for women, things like just getting together socially can help, even just if it's catching up over a coffee or something like that. So if you're, how do you check in with your mates? Is it like a text, or does that look like something over beers, or, you know, are there other ways to kind of break down that barrier of just checking in and having a chat?
Yeah, I don't feel there's any particular method. It's just
Mhm.
a matter whether you send a text or make a call or get together over a beer or a cup of coffee. It really, or even just sitting and watching the football.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it doesn't really make any difference, I don't think. You just need to do it. One thing that's been really great here in quarantine for me is having that ability to have time to talk to your friends. You know, we've got nothing but time while we're sitting here in the hotel room. So I've been reaching out to a lot of my friends and talking to them, and not even necessarily going deep with the conversation, but just reaching out and just being in contact. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, you definitely have a little bit more time on your hands at the
Just a
moment.
little.
And then I guess as well, like if you are feeling a bit down, or you're sort of having a run where you don't feel so great, is there anything you would recommend or that you do yourself that can kind of lift that a little bit?
One thing absolutely for sure is looking after your body. I
Yeah.
think that's so important. you know, even here in quarantine, my wife and I have been pushing each other because there's times when you can get a little bit lazy and think, oh, I don't want to do anything. Who wants to work out in a hotel room? But
Mhm.
even just 30 minutes a day of just doing some push-ups and some, you know, running around the room, sit-ups, all that sort of thing. It's, you know, online on YouTube right now, there is literally thousands of free workouts that you can just follow along. And I think having that solid body is something that does fuel a stable mind. So it makes you feel positive about yourself. You do feel good after you've exercised. I don't want to sound like I'm a gym junkie or anything like that, because I'm not. I have to push myself really hard to
Me too.
bother to work out.
Hmm.
So, but in the end, when you look back at what you've done over the last half hour, 45 minutes, you feel better for it. And it sets you up for a better day. So if you're doing that every morning, your life in general it does improve.
Yeah, exercise always comes up as one of the things that you can do to improve mentally as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you too, what do you do with the kids during this period to keep them from going too stir crazy?
Well, we've been trying to keep a little bit of a timetable, not necessarily a strict one, but we like to get them doing different things throughout the day. Okay, well, it's time to read a book for an hour, and now it's time to do some exercise. There's some great kids yoga things on the TV, on YouTube that they like to follow, as well as some meditation stuff. I think meditation is a very overlooked thing for children. Calming their minds and keeping them steady, I think it's a very important thing. So we've been doing that. At the same time, though, we've been pretty loose at
Yeah.
times just because it is a very unusual situation. We don't want it to be strict. If they want to spend an extra hour on their iPad or on the Nintendo Wii, then they can go right ahead. It's just a matter of making sure that you don't overdo it and overstimulate their mind. So for us, it's just at the moment a little bit relaxed. Once we get out of quarantine, they get to go back to school, which neither of them have done since mid-March. They haven't been in the school for 6 months because over in Vegas the schools went back online. So we're really looking forward to them getting back into that structure of going to school every day and coming home. I think that's going to be a great thing for them that they've missed out on.
So in Vegas, the schools never slowly reopened to the way that they have here. Did you just do the online learning the whole time?
That's right. Well, it happened over summer break. The summer break in the US is from mid-May through till mid-August, 3 months off school.
Wow.
Oy, that's a lot. And then at mid-August, when they went back, the schools went back virtually instead of in person. I know now that it's around mid-October, they're starting to do it a couple of days a week where they send half the kids back for 2 days a week and the other half back for another 2 days. It all seems to be a little bit up in the air though and really confusing. And I think having the regularity, as I said, of our kids going back to school, that's something that's going to be just really great for them. And also for my wife and I, because we've had our kids, as much as we love our kids, we've seen them all day, every day for the last 6 months. And it's time to have a little bit of breathing space.
Oh, it would be. I can only imagine. And speaking of school as well, that is sometimes a very challenging place to be, or being a teenager can be a complex time. How was high school for you? What was your experience?
I remember being very awkward at school for the first couple of years, not having a lot of friends. The high school that I went to, I didn't know anybody from my primary school who went. What's the word for it again?
Selective?
A selective school. Yes, you're better than me. Thank you very much for reminding me of that word. It was a selective school, so I was the only one from my primary school who went. So for me, it was a brand new situation, and I remember being very awkward and a little nervous. But within a couple of years, knowing that I had the musical side of me, I met up with the other musical kids in the school and we became friends through that. And then I met the other guys, which that really helped as well. So I think that's the main thing with school is to know that for any kids who are listening to this is that even if it is awkward and difficult at first, take your time. Don't try to rush and become best friends with everybody. Just you will find your tribe. It might take a little while, but you will get there.
Yes, and eventually, I think gets better. Like I think that even if, yeah, as you said, if you're not so popular in high school, that's okay. That's not the course that you're going to be on forever either. Like
Oh, for sure. It's only 6 years, which sounds like a long,
a
long
long
time
time.
when you're a kid. But looking back, 6 years, okay, that was 6 years done, and it does. It gets better as you after you leave school. People become more mature. The bullies seem to quieten down, but also as an adult, you learn to if you're someone who has to deal with that. Sometimes it becomes a little easier to deal with as you get older,
Mhm.
and yeah, life does get better. So if you're struggling at the moment, it does improve.
It does. And I wanted to ask you, when you first sort of built that foundation of human nature in high school, was that a cool thing, or did you cop some flack for that?
We were the four least cool people in the entire school when we got together. We initially called ourselves the Four Tracks, TRAX.
Mhm.
That was our first name, which they conveniently changed to the Four Skins, all of the people at school. So, yeah, so that sort of goes to show what our general vibe was at the school. But we stuck together. We knew that what we were doing was fun for us. And if people were picking on us, we had each other. And we had the other musical kids at the school who liked singing with us. And we were in the choir, we were in dance ensembles. So for us, it was the positive side. It was the positivity of what we were doing that outweighed all of the negative stuff that people were throwing at us. And in the end, I guess we're the people that got the last laugh because we stuck at it. And 30 years later, we're in the Hall of Fame.
You absolutely are. Actually, I found something a week ago.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
It's a
A
cassette.
cassette.
It's a cassette. I know it's all scratched off, but it's the Human Nature Counting Down cassette.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yes. So
I
I'm
don't
a
know when the
long
last time I saw a cassette was. That's brilliant.
I thought it would be interesting because a lot of, as you said, teens who will watch this and listen
Hmm.
would probably not have really come across a cassette before either.
No, and nor should they. Cassettes were dreadful.
I know they
The
wait.
sound quality was so bad.
And you can't go to the next song. You had to like press
Oh,
down the
go stop, go stop, go stop, go stop, go stop, go stop. Found it. There we go.
Yep,
That
yep.
was, yeah, no, cassettes, best consigned to the rubbish pile, I think.
Yes, I don't know how that one turned up, but yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up. Well, do you have a favorite song off that
Of
record?
Counting Down.
Counting Down.
I think my favorite song off Counting Down was probably the title song, Counting Down.
Down. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a really beautiful song. Andrew and Mike wrote that one with the producer Andrew Clipple, and it's just, yeah, it was a gorgeous song, really pretty.
would you want to give us a preview?
Oh, is that one? How does it go? Now I'm just counting down the hours. Now I'm just counting down the tears that I cried. 'Cause I always thought we'd be forever. Now I'm just counting down the days till you were here. I think
Thank
I messed
you.
up some of the lyrics then, but anyway, it's
Oh,
been a
that's
long time.
great. What is your favorite Human Nature song?
I would have to say one of the early ones, Telling Everybody.
Yes, that's
Yeah, it was really, even now, it was 25 years ago that it came out. And even now, people still remember that one, that great guitar riff at the start. And, without fail, if we meet people on the street in Australia, they're like, oh, Human Nature, telling everybody. It's the song that everyone really latched onto. So I think that's a sign of a really great song that it's so memorable, even 25 years later. So that's probably my favorite.
it's so catchy. What about all
It
the
is.
yeah, it is. You're right, the guitar and what about the Motown stuff? What's your favorite from all your tracks in the Motown era?
Probably my favorite song in that is "Reach Out, I'll Be There," the Four Tops classic. That actually kickstarted the whole Motown, the whole Motown cycle for us because that song we'd thrown into our show a couple of times, and the crowds just loved it. So we thought to ourselves, you know what? We've loved Motown songs since we started. Maybe it's time for us to get together and put all the Motown songs into one place. And that song really kicked it off for us. And it's a great song. No matter how old that song gets, it's just a really fantastic song to listen to. It's fun.
It is fun, and I was actually going to put this song into the podcast. It's so well named for Mental Health Month, like Reach Out. It's, yeah.
That's right. That's right. What are the words? If you feel you can't go on because all your hope is gone, reach out. I'll be there. It's yeah, very positive for Mental Health Month.
It's a great, great song. I also wondered if you could go back in time and perform with anyone on stage, who would you want to be on stage with?
Oh, I think actually, funnily enough, we're just talking about the Four Tops. You know,
Yeah.
it would have been great to have like a Human Nature versus, I'll put up four fingers, not five. Human Nature on one side and the Four Tops on the other, doing like a bit of a sing-off. That would have been really fun.
Yeah, oh, that would have been spectacular to see. Do you have any interesting fan stories?
Interesting fan stories. Well, we've had some really interesting fans over the years. Not necessarily any crazy stories, but you know, we've had some fans in Vegas who've come to see our show in Vegas well over 200 times. Yeah, I know. That's commitment right there.
That is so
Um, yeah, and fans from Australia who've flown over and stayed in Vegas for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and come to our show every night that they've been on that trip. So it's, you know, it's a really amazing thing because it's, you know, they're coming a lot of times, but they're just enjoying it, and that's their way of enjoying their life, is to come and listen to a Human Nature concert. So it's up to us to give them that enjoyment, and we're more than happy to do that. So, and in Australia, we've had some of the most supportive fans who've been around since the early 90s,
Mm.
who are now bringing their kids along to our shows. And it's just amazing. It's actually a really beautiful feeling to look out and see the same faces who are growing up with us over the years. So I think that's the best fan story I can give, is the ones that have been with us for so long and supported us for so long. And we've been a part of their lives just as much as they've been a part of ours.
Yes, you do. You have such a loyal fan base, which is
We
amazing.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're so grateful for that.
And so we get to see you next year if everything kind of keeps going well.
That's right. Yes, that's right. We're touring next year, August, September. We're back in Australia. Um, yeah, getting back on the road. It's going to be a long time between drinks, but we can't wait.
Do you ever see yourself going back to Vegas or doing a stint somewhere else?
I think living almost 12 years in Las Vegas, I think that was probably enough as far as living there. I
Mhm.
can never say never as far as where an opportunity is going to take us. But I think if it came down to it, just from a personal and a family side of things, if there were an opportunity to go back to Vegas to work, I think it would be a matter of going to work and then coming back home to Australia. I wouldn't be living there anymore. I think I've done my time outside Australia, and one thing it has shown me is that being Australian and living in Australia is two of the luckiest things that anybody could ever be. So I think for me, I'm home. I'm looking out the window now at Sydney just as I'm talking about it. This is home now, and this is where I was staying.
If you weren't in Human Nature, what would you be doing?
I would probably be. I did go to university and study music education for a couple of years to become a music teacher, but unfortunately, I don't really have the patience to be a music teacher. I I love kids, but 30 in a room at once is, oh, I couldn't handle that. So I probably would never have gone into that field. I'm not really sure. Apart from that, it would have been something in the music field, maybe some kind of arranging or composing. There's a lot of different things you can do in the music field, that some of them not necessarily involve playing or singing. So it would have something to do with music for sure.
I also saw on one of your little 24 hours with Phil that you enjoy gardening and landscaping.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of gardening and landscaping. That's right. Particularly, yeah, I love building things.
Hmm.
That's something that my dad always instilled in me, I think, was that ability to be able to pick up a tool and go, you know what, I'll give it a shot. So for me, fixing things or building things, or maintaining things, that's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. It again, it's another good thing for quietening the mind. If you can
Using your
concentrate on
hands.
something like gardening or fixing something, yeah, you're not thinking about anything other than the job at hand, and that's a really good thing.
Definitely. And so, Phil, the podcast series is called What You Didn't Know. So I was wondering,
Okay.
is there something that you can share with us that we don't know about you?
One thing that you don't know about me is, ooh, that's a tricky one because I've answered so many questions over the years. I'm left-handed. I don't know if everyone knows that. I'm
Mhm.
left-handed. I am an avid golfer. A lot
Mm.
of people out there probably, oh, golf, hate golf. But again, give me something that can help me relax
Mhm.
and I'm onto it. So I'll probably say that I love playing golf.
You're a left-handed golfer.
I am.
You are. That's wonderful. Well, Phil, was there anything extra that I didn't ask you that you would like to mention?
No, I think that's probably it, Steph. I think that I'd love that chat. It was really great. And if I can help with anything as far as mental health goes,
Hmm.
anything like this, it's really important, I think, for men. So, well, it's important for everybody, adults, children, no matter your gender. So it's just always good to be able to help out in any way, even if it's just talking about your experiences.
Actually, as well, it would be worth pointing out too, Phil, that because you've kindly agreed to let us do the video version of this podcast, which I'll be
Yep,
adding captioning to. So I podcast for the deaf community as well. So
fantastic.
there's going to be a lot of deaf and hard of hearing people who will be able to now experience this podcast who wouldn't otherwise be able to listen to the audio version. So there's another reach on this. So thank you so much for.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Steph. It's a really, really great to talk to you. And yeah, good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for tuning in, guys, and stick around for next time. We're on this podcast series, What You Didn't Know. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Steph.